Okay, done. Test, test, test. Oh, we might be okay again. Test, test, test.
Check, check. Here.
Testing 1, 2, 3. All right, the TV volume's got to go down a bit.
Yeah. Right now.
Yes, sir, right now.
Better.
All right, test 1, 2, 3.
Copy. Check, check.
Okay, it looks like we have volume at least. All right. Well, guys, hey there, all you bandits, mercs, and space cadets. This is Voices from the Periphery. I am Bishop with Hammer, and we are here to talk about some stuff today. I think our topics include STARCRAFT and some upcoming games.
All right.
So, right now, Hammer has been playing STARCRAFT. He's probably the most knowledgeable person I know on the game. And I'm going to be honest, I've played it, but I probably don't know nearly as much as him. So, why don't you tell me a little bit more about what's going on in your world there, Hammer?
Well, starting with the first one, are you talking story-wise, or are you talking, like, just gameplay?
Well, I mean, right now, like I said, I've played online versus you a couple of times. I don't really know much about the story behind it. I don't know much about what's going on with the different factions. If you have a specific faction that you really like, just tell me a little bit about what's going on with you right now.
Well, in general, starting at the beginning, basically, there was a group of humanity that didn't like how things were going on Earth and the core worlds and that little system, politic-wise. So they set off with themselves, their families, and they were also set a whole bunch of, like prisoners, those type of people. And they set off to make their own little civilization. They ended up in what was called the Cthulhu sector, and over the centuries, they became their own little government called the Terran Confederacy. And unbeknownst to them, there were other sentient species out there, the Zerg and Protoss. Well, the Zerg decided that they wanted to start, infesting and consuming humans for their psionic potential, which is like psychic powers. And the Protoss had an issue with this, but didn't announce themselves or try to talk or anything. They just kind of started burning Confederate worlds. So, dealing with these two problems at the same time and not knowing what the hell is going on behind it or why it started or where it came from, the Terrans fought back.
Okay, so we've got the Protoss, we have the Terrans. Those are your primary two protagonists?
No, all three, basically. I mean, the Zerg were definitely...
Oh, the Zerg, right, I forgot about the Zerg, yep.
The Zerg are a usable faction. They have their own campaign in both games. They're a huge part of the story, so it's not like they're an afterthought or anything.
Okay, so the Zerg are an active faction in the campaign storyline.
Yeah, from the first game, you had one campaign per faction. You had the Terran campaign was first, and then the Zerg campaign, and then it ended with the Protoss campaign, and then you had Brood War, which was an expansion. It had 3 campaigns. And it told a pretty deep story, especially for an RTS game from the late 90s. Had a lot of cutting-edge CGI for the time. I mean, it hasn't aged that well, but,
I mean, what has in today's day and age, honestly.
Exactly. But, yeah, as far as, my favorite faction, that tends to be the Zerg. They're very often overlooked. People think that they're weak and don't understand them. But the thing is like Zerg players know that if you take the time and learn how to understand, how to use that faction correctly, then you can dominate the other two races. It's just a matter of putting in that effort and figuring them out.
That seems a little broken to me, though. Like, why would you put a faction in that is essentially unbeatable?
I wouldn't say they're unbeatable. I just think that they're often overlooked. I think a lot of people look at them and think, okay, their defenses are weak, their units aren't that strong, and don't really understand that it's a numbers game. The Zerg, that is their strength, numbers.
Right. Okay. So you've got sort of this easy, medium, and hard thing going on. I mean, is that what I'm understanding?
No, I mean they've got them pretty well balanced now. Back in the day, it took them a long time to get the three races balanced, but they did come to a almost perfect balance between the three of them in the first game. And then as far as StarCraft 2 goes, I would say they're pretty well balanced there as well.
Okay.
But again, the thing that it's not that they're unbeatable, it's like you surprise people because they're not expecting Zerg to do much other than a rush. Because it's such a commonly known thing, the Zerg rush, that Google, if you actually go on Google and type Zerg rush, it's like a Easter egg. And the search engine will actually have the letters do a Zerg rush. But not everybody knows about the secret commands of Google.
The secret commands. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
so.
It's like cliche at this point.
Okay. That's fine. So essentially, you've got this StarCraft. You've got this ongoing campaign style. When you start a campaign, let's just say somebody new like me jumps in and says, hey, I'm going to start a StarCraft campaign. What does that entail? Am I starting as the Protoss? Am I starting as the Zerg? Am I starting...
It depends on whether or not you play through like the original games or if you just play StarCraft 2. Now, StarCraft, the original, I believe, is still free on Blizzard's Battle.net. And the first episode of StarCraft 2, which is there's 3 and like a special add-on. So, but the first campaign for StarCraft 2 is free on Blizzard's website as well.
Okay.
Both games, they basically tell you which campaigns come first. Like if you load up the old school one, it would say, it recommends that you play this campaign before this campaign. But there's also StarCraft Remastered, which is the originals brought up to more of a high def, type look, and they look a little better. And then they have some neat add-ons, like if you know about the Carbot cartoons for StarCraft, which I think are hilarious.
I don't. The what?
Well, there's a channel called Carbot Animations. They made a whole bunch of little shorts about StarCraft. There's like 6 or 7 seasons of it. Each season's probably a half hour. And Blizzard at a time, I don't know, they haven't been the most loved company lately, but they actually took, and you can buy an add-on for StarCraft Remastered where it changes how all the units and buildings and the terrain looks to look like the stuff in those animations, which are actually often quite cute.
Okay.
So, I thought that was cool.
Okay, so who is the main humanoid faction? What are they called again?
They call our race the Terrans.
The Terrans, obviously, from Terra. Obviously, that makes sense.
But there is but the Confederacy is the main antagonist faction of humans. They become the antagonists within the first couple of matches or missions in the first game, and then you have a resistance faction that call themselves the Terran Dominion. They're led by an asshole named Menk. Now I'm giving stuff away here, but
Yeah, yeah. Not too many spoilers, but yeah, I mean, what you can do.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking about a game that's very old, so it's not like,
That's true.
if you don't know about it, that I don't want to ruin it for you, but at the same
Yeah, but
time,
you're kind of out of it by now if
it's
you
been
don't.
24 years since StarCraft came out, so
Jeez, has it really been that long already?
yeah.
Lord.
It was the first game I played online as a youngster,
As a youngster.
on a freaking 56K modem. Ugh. I do not miss that crap.
Yeah, I'll bet. So, this came out roughly 20 something years ago. What?
Yeah, but
What?
lots of people still play it.
No, I agree with that. What is like the most recent? I don't know the right word. Pardon me. What's like the most recent installment?
Last thing that I can think of that they added was the co-op missions and the Nova Ghost Ops, which was just another campaign. Nova was a Terran Ghost, which is a type of unit. They're like Spec Ops, and that was in StarCraft 2. She wasn't in the first one.
Okay, so we've got StarCraft, StarCraft 2. What are some of the other?
You have StarCraft, and then you have Brood War, and those are the original games. There is a lost expansion that was supposed to come out or did come out in certain areas that I don't remember the name of for the original. And then you have for StarCraft 2, it came out in 3 parts, then Nova Ops, so I would say 4 campaigns. And that would be Wings of Liberty, which is the human campaign, and then Heart of the Swarm, my favorite, which is the Zerg campaign. And then you have Legacy of the Void, which is the Protoss campaign.
All right, and the Protoss are aliens. The Zerg are more like bugs. The
Zerg are aliens too, but the Zerg don't use technology of any kind.
right, no, the Zergs are more like bugs. Yeah,
Is alive, so
right.
son of a bitch.
So I mean, that would be like my general understanding is like you've got your Terrans, they're the humans. You've got the protagonist Terran style folks called the. No, I don't. I was reaching for you on that one. I was reaching for you on that one. So you've got the Terrans, and
Yeah, you have the Terrans, you have the Protoss, and you have the Zerg, and obviously within the human faction and even the Protoss faction, you have different political affiliations. So you have the Confederacy, which is pretty much gone at this point. You have the Terran Dominion, and for the Protoss, you have the Tal'Darim and the regular Protoss faction, which I can't remember their name. Sorry. And then you also have the Dark Templar from Shakuras, because at some point in their history, long, long ago, they split in half, and some of them went off and settled other worlds, and they never really had any contact again until the events of the first game. And the Tal'Darim are just like they're they were part of the main faction, but then they split off as well, and they follow one of their ancient gods that plays a bigger part in the story. Again, don't want to ruin too much.
No, I mean you're right. It's a 20-something-year-old game. I guess we're not really ruining too much of anything.
That stuff is from StarCraft 2, so we're talking about 2010 on.
Sure. Okay. So StarCraft 2 was released in 2010.
The first part of it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was after a long wait.
I was gonna say, I think I remember there being huge gaps in timeline between releases on this game.
Yeah, I mean the game's stories they take place only a few years difference, but for us it was 12 years just to get Wings of Liberty. give or take.
Wow. Wow.
But there are a lot of fans out there that held their breath and held on, and dug in their heels.
No, that makes sense. Has there been a new release since StarCraft 2?
No, the one that they finished that up with the Nova Ops, and they did add a co-op thing with a bunch of maps at some point in the last few years, which is pretty cool. But you mostly have a lot of community stuff where people make maps and do different things with the game engine, and they definitely supported modding pretty well. But I'm hopeful that now that Blizzard has purchased is purchasing Activision Blizzard, that they'll put something back into this and we'll see more StarCraft in the future.
I mean, that would be great. I know that it's been one of the most hugely popular RTS games out there.
Oh, yeah. It's up there with Command & Conquer.
Yeah, Command & Conquer and StarCraft. I mean, growing up, I didn't get to play a lot of video games. We didn't have computers that could handle them. We didn't have a lot of stuff, I mean, growing up. But I always heard all the people, all my buddies, oh, you got to play StarCraft. Oh, you got to play Command & Conquer. Oh, you got to play, I think the other one was Warcraft, that I got to play a little bit. So, these are just little things that I didn't get to necessarily experience in the 90s and the early 2000s that a lot of other people did. So it's really interesting to hear about them from somebody who has had the opportunity to experience them, for really their entirety.
Oh, yeah. I've put a lot of time into these games. I mean, back in the day, it doesn't matter what console came out or whatever the next new thing was, I was always still on these.
Sure. I mean, I played StarCraft against you. I'll be honest. I think I played every different faction and had no success at all in even getting close to you.
No, it wasn't necessarily fair experience-wise.
Well, no. I mean, that's you can't really argue that. I mean, that's not really a factor at the end of the day. I mean, obviously.
That would be like a toddler facing off with a 30-year-old.
Yeah. That's kind of how it went, too.
It was fun, though.
Hey.
I've never known anybody to actually have the nerve to keep coming back for more over and over again.
And I will again when there's time. There's just so many things I want to do, but I never stopped playing that because I got beat. I want you to know that.
No, I know you didn't. We all just kind of drifted and did our own things. That's how it goes.
That is how it goes sometimes.
Being an adult.
It is. So, this may not be our longest stream, guys. If you're just tuning in, Corey has some life-changing events going on right now, so he won't be joining us. Hammer, my good buddy and fellow gamer, is going to step in and fill his shoes. But one of the things that I want to talk about a little bit is you mentioned earlier the last time we spoke, there's a few games coming out that you thought might be interesting. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, off the top of my head, Homeworld 3, and Homeworld is also one of those strategy games that has been with me forever.
Remind me, have I played Homeworld with you?
I believe you and I played the Remaster Collection. It's the RTS that's in space, like.
Oh, and we had the mods with the Gundam fighters.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
A lot of people have issues with the three-dimensional movement, but if you get the hang of it, it's not that bad.
No, it wasn't that bad. I enjoyed playing that.
It was amazing for 1997 and 8.
Lord, is that when that's from?
The originals, yeah. Yeah, the second one was 98. The first one was like 96 or 97.
Get some feedback on your side.
What's that?
Nothing. It's gone now.
Okay.
You're good.
But yeah, they're pretty iconic in the RTS world, and the RTS genre. And I think that they're like one of those hidden gems that not everybody knew about, but the people who do freaking love it,
Right, right. No, no, I mean, I enjoyed the games that I played.
Yeah, Homeworld 3 is supposed to be on the way this year or maybe next year, but like they have an official release date. Last I checked, it was still TBA or first quarter, last quarter this year or something. Which I hate when companies do that, but you know.
Right. Okay, so Homeworld, you said, is releasing a potentially new game or a new update, or what's going on with that?
Well, I don't know too much. I mean, they have a new game coming out, so I'm excited to see what that's going to be like. I'm excited to see if they do the same kind of quality. Now, they came out with like a spin-off game a few years ago called Deserts of Karak, which instead of being in space, it was on the ground with... It was pretty unique because your base was like these giant land crawler aircraft carrier type things, which I thought was really interesting. But the next one looks like it's going to be in space, which I'm glad to go back to that. I like playing around with large ships. I like, the mods for that kind of stuff. The old ones had mods from Halo, mods from like Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars, Gundam, all kinds of crazy stuff. And it was interesting.
Okay, so this is going to be Homeworld 3?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was confused about. Okay, so this is an all-new Homeworld 3 release date December 2022, if I'm reading correctly.
Oh, they put out a release date? That's great.
According to Google. According to Google, that's what I'm looking at right now. It looks like December of 2020. Did I say 2 or 3?
I'm not sure. You'd have to go look.
I know, but I just started saving pictures.
2023.
Yeah, right. Nope, it is initial release date December 22.
Okay.
But it also says the game is scheduled to be released in early mid 23. So I'm confused by that.
Yeah.
Unless they're just referring to beta.
I don't know. I just know it's one of the ones that I want pretty bad.
Well, darn it. If there is a beta, get us in the beta.
Boy, yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so I'm putting that on you. Figure out how to get us into the beta.
Copy that.
I mean, if anybody can do it, you're the man. Let's be honest.
I'll figure it out if it can be.
I mean, you're the person I would trust with that sort of job. Oh, I just made the Homeworld picture bigger than the screen. Good. That's what I get for trying to do.
Yeah, it seems like it might be a pretty big year for strategy games. There's quite a few coming out that I have some interest in.
Okay.
There's going to be a Terminator strategy game, which I have always wanted that to be a thing.
Wait, a strategy
I'm
game?
a big fan of the modern Terminator movies. They've kind of sucked, in my opinion. They've gotten really stupid, but we still all love the premise, I think, of Terminator and the future war and whatnot.
Is this the Dark Fate?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna look up
But
the Dark
the
Fate.
game itself is going to be set in the future in that kind of a war, and it's going to be a real-time strategy, so it should look and play pretty well. It should be fun.
So this is gonna be another RTS style?
Mm-hmm.
How are they gonna? So you're gonna play a faction. You're not just gonna play like a person. It's gonna be like.
No, from what I've seen, they were using tanks and modern contemporary aircraft and stuff. Some of them had been upgraded with like plasma weapons and stuff, but that kind of thing. But still, looks very interesting. I hope that they have a good multiplayer mode and that they have both sides as playable, even if there's not a campaign for the antagonist, because that's usually a thing they do. Is they don't make two campaigns. I would like to see, both sides, but
Interesting.
again, that has no set date yet.
That one doesn't either.
When I look on Steam, it's like TBA.
I got you. Okay, so yeah, they're not really giving any release dates on that one. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a bummer.
Something just came out that was fun was, again, a real-time strategy, and it was Starship Troopers, and it was pretty well done. It doesn't have one multiplayer mode yet. I hope they add one, but that was a lot of fun. It looked very good. It played very good. It's a lot of fun to kick the shit out of bugs. Excuse me.
Oh, you're fine. And this was, I'm sorry, say that one more time. What was the title of this one?
Starship Troopers, Terran. Give me a moment. Like, I don't think it's Terran Ascendancy. I think that's the old one. Like Terran Command or something.
I see Terran Command. I see the role-playing game. I see the miniature game.
Yeah, Terran Command is what it is, and it was a strategy game. You basically were calling in squads of this, that, or the other, different kinds of infantry. You did get up to like mechs, and a lot of it was like clearing out bug holes and stuff.
So this was kind of an animated game for the Starship Troopers. Nope. Actually, wow. Okay, I'm watching. I'm sorry. I'm watching some gameplay now. I'm catching up right here.
I recommended it to more friends like you and whatnot if it had some kind of a co-op or versus mode. I definitely recommend it if you want to sit down and have some fun blowing bugs up. But it was a little bit disappointing that the replay value, because there's no versus or co-op.
Yeah, it looks to me more like a tower defense 1v.
It may look that way, but it plays pretty well like a strategy game. It's just you're not like sitting there building your units necessarily. Like when you buy units, they just come down in a drop pod or a little ship. I mean, a lot of it is defense, but I mean, a lot of RTSs require a good defense, as you've known by playing with me.
Right. Yeah. What's defense? I don't even know what that is. You destroy mine so quickly.
I recall a few games where you were pretty happy that you had a solid defense going, and then I found a way under or around it.
Yes. Well, you were a good coach as well as a good opponent. What can I say?
I appreciate it. I'm always trying to teach you. I want a good challenge.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I think that's all we've got for tonight, unless you've got something else you would like to jump in on.
I mean, I have tons of this kind of stuff. Like there's Dawn of War 2 coming out. Or not Dawn of War, Space Marine 2, I'm sorry. And,
that's Warhammer?
Yeah, that's going to be a third-person shooter, hack and slash. I'm excited about that. I have a lot of games that I'm like waiting for.
I've never been, and I hate to say it only because I'm a little biased, I've never been into the Warhammer Space Marine video game. I just, I want to see robots and tanks. I want to fight as robots and tanks. That's why I was...
Look, Battletech and Mech Warrior are always going to have a special place in my heart, and I actually going to value them higher than, say, Warhammer. But Warhammer is a really cool setting, and they put out a lot of games. And I really did enjoy Space Marine. I mean, it was a lot of fun tearing works to pieces and killing Chaos Marines and shit. But
I won't argue there. I think that you've got some very good points there. I will...
The original game could have used a co-op mode. I mean, it did have like a horde mode, but it wasn't like playing the campaign. It was very base. There wasn't too much to it.
Yeah.
It could use more maps and things and more support, but unfortunately THQ was going under at the time. The new game is being made by, I can't remember the company's name, but they're the people who made World War Z, the game. So I'm a little worried, but at the same time, they didn't do a bad job on that. As long as they stick to that instead of trying to make it World War Z with that skin, then it could turn out to be pretty good.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'd be interested in seeing how it turns out for sure. I'm not against Warhammer in general. I have recently played, what is it? Herod's Heresy or something, or Ashnod's Heresy or something.
Horus Heresy.
Horus Heresy, thank you. I've recently...
Horus Heresy is, I think, in the 30th millennium, 31st millennium. Whatever.
Yeah, they call it 30K. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's where the Emperor's favorite Primarch, his favorite son, basically turned against him, and there was a civil war.
Okay, yeah, I don't know the history behind any of that, unfortunately.
It's one of the reasons that 40K's world kind of sucks for people. Like, not players, I mean the people who live in it.
Oh, okay. I was confused.
At a very high-tech level, and things were going very well for us, to the point where the orcs and the Eldar were actually not... They were very hesitant to fight us. Even the orcs had non-aggression pacts with us. Until that happened.
Right.
When the Emperor was still alive, quote unquote, you know, and obviously I'm not a historian. There are going to be Warhammer people who want to argue with me or say, well, you left this, yeah, well, I mean, this is what I know. we were sitting pretty high on top of things, and we had lost a lot of technology whenever Slaanesh was born, and all of our colonies and whatnot got separated from each other. It's too much to get into, but we were still sitting pretty high and pretty powerful until he did that, and then it caused a whole lot of problems.
Okay. I mean, that definitely makes sense.
Including the Emperor being stuck between being dead and alive.
Well, that's kind of awkward, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to be stuck between dead and alive. That's interesting.
Well, they sacrifice 1,000 psychers every day, psychers being people that were born with psychic abilities, to keep the Emperor from passing on.
That's a pretty big population to be able to sacrifice 1,000 people a day. Wow.
That is one of the things about the Imperium of Man that people don't necessarily get, and people who play it a lot and get into it too, but people who dabble or dip a toe don't. There's so many human beings in the Imperium that numbers don't matter.
Oh.
They could do things quite differently, but they don't care about human lives. You know?
Wow.
That's why I think with like trench warfare, this, that, and the other thing, the Imperial Guard basically take the Zukov philosophy of just throw more men at it till the problem goes away.
Okay. Yeah, I've definitely...
Regardless of how many men that is, regardless of how many lives lost, they don't care. You know, your average world in the Imperium has hive cities, and each city will be a couple billion humans. We have 7 billion humans on Earth now. Now, you can't even fathom the kind of numbers when they have thousands of worlds with that kind of a population.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, how did we get to that point in this universe?
In 40K, well, during the golden age of man, we had a lot more technology than we even did in the 31st millennium. And there was a lot of forbidden technologies, including AI, and there were the Men of Stone and the Men of Iron, which we don't have a ton of information about. But the Men of Stone came before the Men of Iron, and the Men of Iron got corrupted by chaos. And basically there was a huge war between man and machine across the entire... wasn't the Imperium then. But after fighting that terrible war, then Slaanesh was born because of the stuff that the Eldar were doing, which is basically horrific stuff that you probably don't want me to go into.
Maybe we'll talk about that and then decide if it's viewer friendly.
It is not child friendly.
No.
When Slaanesh was born, it caused warp storms across the entire galaxy, which kind of cut off our ability to travel between worlds and the stars, which caused basically most worlds to go into like feral fiefdoms and whatnot through civil war, lack of supplies, disasters. Some worlds fared better than others, but that was what the Emperor was doing with himself and his Primarchs after he reconquered Earth and Mars and then the solar system, as he had set off to conquer and rejoin all of humanity together, because the warp storms had subsided, and he had decided that he needed to intervene in humanity's, I guess, their path, because of all the horrible stuff that had been happening.
I got you. I mean, that sounds pretty pretty involved.
Well, I mean, at the time, and I don't know if that's changed at this point for humans, but our only ability to travel faster than light was to enter the warp. And when those warp storms were going on, they couldn't do that.
Okay.
The warp being another dimension. I mean, it's more or less basically hell, but,
Wait, like they're designing it around actual hell?
It's not hell like you're thinking of, like in Christianity. It is basically everything in the warp feeds on energy from everything in our reality. So the emotions, the thoughts, and beliefs of all of us feed into that. And humanity is uniquely influencing on that because there's so many of us. The Eldar used to be, but they're a dying race. They don't have the power or the knowledge they used to have, and they don't have the numbers. But basically, okay, let's say everybody believed in Santa Claus, okay? Just for an example.
Wait, who doesn't? I'm just kidding.
In the warp, there would be a demonic entity, for lack of a better word, that would come into being that looked like Santa Claus. And whatever everybody believed about him would be true. If we all believed he's Jolly St. Nick, that's what he would be.
Okay.
If everybody believed he was an acid-spewing, horrible monster that devoured children, that's what he would be. It's kind of bonkers over there.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah. And even when you can travel in the warp, demons can get on your ship, manifest on your ship. So they have what's called Geller fields to keep that from happening. They can't get through a Geller field. But this is actually kind of funny. I find the orcs hilarious. They choose not to have Geller fields because they get bored when they're traveling and they want to have those fights.
Hey, sound like Marines. Like U.S. Marines, not Space Marines.
The orcs want nothing but to fight. They don't care what they're fighting or what they're fighting for. They just want to fight.
Oh, so they're either Marines or they're Irish.
When there's nothing to fight, they fight themselves.
Oh, so they're Scottish. All right. Or they're German and they fight everybody else. Anyway, okay, bad joke. I'm going to end that one. End that joke right there. But, okay. Well, hey, I do want to delve into more of this. We have, like I said, a slight transition in the way that the show is running right now. So tonight is going to be a little shorter than normal. We are going to come back. Hammer, please welcome Hammer to the show. This is a good buddy of mine. I've known him for years. One of the most knowledgeable guys I know of any video game or strategy game system out there. I'm really excited to bring him into the show. Right now he's being a little shy on video. That's okay. We'll just do voice until we can coax him out of his shell. That's all right. But it's okay. Hammer, thank you for stepping in today. We're very happy to have you here. I'll definitely follow up with you after this, just to kind of get your thoughts and whatever. But gang, this is Voices from the Periphery. Do you have any final thoughts or notes, Hammer?
No, nothing jumps out at me. Just keep rolling, keep hammering away at it.
Keep hammering away. I like that. That should be your slogan.
If you want to add some gameplay into this this at some point, I'm down for that as well.
Oh, we've got a lot to go on. I want to do tabletop campaigns. I want to do gameplays. There's a lot that I'd like to do and we're going to do. I'm really excited about this, that we're just going to keep it rolling. Corey was awesome. I love him. He's got an opportunity to go teach abroad, and he's going to jump into that. So I really respect him for that decision. But in the meantime, guys, this is Voices from the Periphery signing off. So long, and thanks for all the fish.